So maybe that's why we're seeing so much Esper, just a little bit like play whatever you're comfortable with instead of divulging and trying new stuffs, unless you're Julian, of course. But
we were chatting to the players yesterday, you and I, and Julian was like, I'm not playing Esper. He said it straight up. He's like, I couldn't be bothered playing that. And kudos to him, you know? He's found the magic.
I think he said, in a world of mirrors, I'm going to be playing the Breaker. You know? I love that quote. And, you know, Fable the Mirror Breaker, one of my favorite cards ever printed.
It's
definitely
so
one of the best. You know, I mean, I would definitely categorize as the best card in Standard, but that's definitely up for debate among players.
Oh, yeah. We're getting underway here. Tenacious Underdog on the battlefield here for Karl Sarap. So the first with board presence, but there is a Strangle available for Julian Wellman if he wants to get rid of this 3-2.
Yep, Strangle still has the ability to leave up Make Disappear for any of these really powerful 3-drops that we see from Esper, Wedding Announcement, Rafine, stuff like that.
Oh, yes. Certainly don't want to be caught without an answer for Rafine, the Scheming Seers. We're going to see a swing in here for 3. Down to 17 goes Julian Wellman. Consider in hand for the end step if there is no 3-drop to speak of. And with a tap land, we won't see it just yet, but let's consider our options here, shall we, Corey? Hortigen on top of the library. It's a little right now, but we saw in the previous games, this guy, woo, he gets real big real quick.
Getting large, yeah, we saw it attack Nathan for like 11 or something. That really changes the game pretty quickly. I doubt we're going to see that card, you know, come down on turn 3 right on time. That is definitely more of a turn 4 thing with a Make Disappear available. Something like that, something to protect it. You have Shore Up, you have Make Disappear with that cost reduction that the card comes with. You know, so it'll be interesting how we sequence here. Fable the Mirror Breaker is definitely the card that you would rather start with on turn 3, but you also don't want to get it Make Disappeared, so
definitely
see how Julian approaches this.
Let's sort out this here Tenacious Underdog. Strangle, gonna deal 3 points of damage. Send him on his merry way into the graveyard. Now, do we want to fight over this?
Yeah, it's a tough fight to make with Make Disappear unless you really want to tap out Julian. Yeah, this is cute, you know? Now you really decide, like, do you want to actually deal with Tenacious Underdog and let me untap? Yeah, we see the little wins from Julian. That's a tough decision because, you know, there's 2 available. So this looks like a weird play on the surface value.
Yeah, this is a big think time here for Julian as you see him just like, oh, okay. Now, does he suspect anything more valuable in hand for Karl that he'd rather have the mana up to be able to counter?
Yeah, and that's the thing is if you pay the 2 and have Strangle go for Tenacious Underdog, one play that's almost assuredly available to Karl is just, well, blitz it from the graveyard.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, that'd be something Julian would be pretty happy with because there's nothing on the battlefield at the end of the turn, but it's still a resource in the graveyard, even if this Make Disappear does work.
And when it comes to creature threats, you know, Tenacious Underdog, sure, it can kill you quicker, but just wait until Rafine gets going and starts, you know, conniving and putting counters on himself. Oh, he's going to go for it. So he's going to get this Tenacious Underdog off the battlefield and just cross his fingers and hope.
Yeah, and interesting, it was Julian looking through all the possibilities, like which card, if it were to land next turn, am I, you know, extremely afraid of?
Yeah.
You know, it's Wedding Announcement, it's Rafine, it's the Wandering Emperor, and Julian says, okay, I think I can beat all of those, but Rafine is going to look pretty nice. There's no answer in hand to deal with it at the moment.
Not right now. There is an Ottawara, so he can send it back to hand, but... You know, it just kind of feels like that he's on the back foot the entire time, just being forced to find an answer as Karl Sarap just continues to press the advantage.
Yeah, absolutely, and I believe this, yep, that is a 4/4, so it is well out of range of cut down, so you can cast the Jhin and have Shore Up or Make Disappear available, and a great turn here.
Yeah, so I like this approach from Julian. He's like, well, you know, I can't exactly deal with that, so... Proactive play. Here, deal with this.
I'll block. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I see you're a flyer, and I raise you mine.
Yeah, and it's a pretty safe attack here with Rafine. You know, you are kind of forced to connive and discard a non-land, which, you know, is a cost right now because, of course, you want to keep all your spells, but I assume that cut down is going to be pretty quick to the graveyard.
But is it a safe attack, considering any instant will make our little Jhin a little bit bigger?
Yep, and it kind of is because, you know, you can block with this, and if Julian were to go for it, you know, now you destroy Evil, and that becomes, you know, quite a blowout. So I doubt we're going to see Julian go to kill it, but we'll see.
Rafine survives. And will we see anything else played out here from Karl Sarap?
So it looks like we're going to test the water with Destroy Evil. We are able to, from Karl's side, to just channel Takenuma, but the only target right now is a Tenacious Underdog, and you definitely don't want to play AO into one open mana where Make Disappear is possible. Like, all of a sudden, you are in a lot of trouble. So Karl decides to wait till Julian's upkeep to at least tax his mana a little bit.
Yeah.
But the problem is, from Julian's side, is everything costs 1.
Yeah, cheap. Again, we like discounts.
Yes.
And this Haughty Djinn enabling Julian to use his mana so effectively. And what's great here now is even with that protection spell being cast, the Shore Up, we're still able to fire off Fable the Mirror Breaker, and there is nothing Karl can do about it right now.
Yeah, nothing he can do about it. Julian, of course, doesn't know that, so when it resolved, he's probably like, okay.
Yeah, sweet.
Jinx right there. And
then Coke.
And then we do have Make Disappear with Casualty to be able to deal with, you know, let's say a Wandering Emperor and land 6. So, yeah, everything really coming up Julian, and once again, this deck just continues to impress me.
Well, Takenuma mills a couple things. Let's see what goodies we get back from the graveyard here for Karl Sarap.
That looked pretty good to me. I think we saw Rafine, and we also saw Dennick. So, you know, Dennick being able to get some value, probably not the one selected, but now it's interesting. Do you take Rafine?
Oh,
because it's the only card that, you know, you can't play from the graveyard, even though you already have one.
I mean, spare Rafines.
Yeah.
Nothing too bad about that. If we get Rafine, the Scheming Seer, the one that's on the battlefield already, going to swing in here, uncontested, and finds a wedding announcement. Gonna just discard that other Rafine, being like, you know what, get out of here. I don't need you.
Short-lived.
Yeah.
Short-lived.
Yeah. Glimmer of hope there for him, but alas.
And now here's the big problem with Karl. You just can't double spell. There's no combination where Karl can double spell right now, and that's exactly what he has to be doing up against this Izzet tempo deck. You know, a single spell is exactly what Julian wants. You know, I think the one thing that makes it a little tough on Julian is if Karl were to play something that doesn't just get Make Disappeared right away. So not playing AO. At least then he'd have to sacrifice the Shaman to fully counter it.
Yeah, so let's see where Karl goes with the rest of his turn here. Oh, he's going to go for it. Ayo! Have a Make Disappear. Yeah, it's so nice when you don't have to chew on anything to counter something.
Yeah. Good old just quench, you know?
Yeah.
Got it.
Got him.
And that's exactly what Julian wanted here. For Karl to tap out, know that the coast is clear, and be able to just not only loot away a couple of these lands that are, you know, not so great, get a couple fresh cards, but then just attack for 8, and all of a sudden Karl must leave Rafine back to defend against the Djinn. And look at that. I mean, like, how do you beat that?
You don't.
Okay.
I'm gonna just go out on a limb here and say Julian's got this game pretty much locked up. Fading Hope is gonna get rid of this Rafine, and there's gonna be no such leaving anything back at this point.
Yep, pays the 1, gets that out of there.
Oh man, I was wondering if there's any cheeky combination of spells that would get him dead straight away, because that's 9 points of damage, but yeah, would need a couple cantrips to do that. So down to 4 goes Karl.
And now 2 counter spells, and like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do here with 2 permission spells from Julian? It just no way out for Karl, and it's going to be, what can we bring in from the board to deal with this Izzet deck? You know, this Izzet deck is the topic of conversation in these players' team discords. Like,
for sure.
Did we expect this deck to be that good? What do we do against it? People are probably scrambling against the idea of this deck.
I love it. Make them scramble. And now we're going to see Make Disappear here, paying the casualty. Poor little gobbo. There is a Make Disappear on Karl's side of things, but it ain't going to cut it. And that is Julian Wellman picking up game number 1. Let's go sideboard times. What does Karl have to do to beat him?
Yeah,
What does anyone have to do to beat him?
I'm drawing a blank here so far at what people have to do. And not only is Julian doing extremely well in these standard games, he's just 2-0ing everyone. That's the main thing that I'm looking at.
That's the dream, right?
That is definitely the dream at this stage of the game, and you got to be feeling confident when it's just 2-0 after 2-0.
Julian's got stuff to do. He's got people to see.
Yeah.
He's got fans to meet.
Yeah, he's got to hang out with some people in between rounds.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
The less games of Magic you have to play, the more thinks you have in reserve for your next matches. This is just, it's just running the tables.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm already considering if in between rounds, if I can fire up Arena and start playing this. Do you really need a co-commentator, or can you do this yourself?
I probably
so I can
could,
play?
but
okay.
I like having you here. So
all right.
You'll have to multitask. You can play while you talk.
So the Siphon Insights is kind of the new thing that we're seeing from Karl's list. And yeah, I was really curious to see if those stay in, because there is a lot of cheap blue spells, that Karl can take advantage of, getting some counter spells and stuff, but not a lot of haymakers, if you hit Lear, how good is that in your deck? Not that great in the Esper side, but hitting Fable, hitting stuff like that, it's going to be pretty strong.
I mean, it's a blue-black based deck, right? You just want to steal your opponent's stuff.
Yes.
So I think, Siphon Insight, even though it might not hit like the bee's knees in terms of card quality, it's still going to irritate Julian, perhaps.
Yeah, and it is kind of Karl's game plan. Karl wants to be playing a lot more of a draw-go game plan in this version of Esper. So, it's a wonder if he ever takes it out. It just might be something that he has to keep in all the time, because it's very much his game plan in this version of Esper.
Alrighty, well, both players ready to rock and roll. Let's get underway here. Game number 2. In round 6 of our standard portion of the World Championship, our current undefeated player, Julian Wellman, looking to improve upon his record, goes 6-0. Maybe he's trying to pull a Utah.
Yeah, except, not start with the 0-3 in draft, trying to make it a little bit easier on him.
That's like hard mode, okay.
Yeah.
Yuta was just styling on all of us. It's just okay, I'm just going to make my life very difficult here and win everything.
Exactly.
Oh, we're doing very much the draw-go game plan here. Stormcarved Coast off the top here for Julian Wellman. How do you like these hands?
Both pretty solid. They both have lands to play with. There's not any, aspect of each player's hand where they're I absolutely need to draw land. I need to draw some action. Karl's hand is a lot more draw-go right now. It's not the progressive, proactive, 2-drop into 3-drop kind of creature draw. So, buckle up. This is going to be a little bit of a longer game, unlike the last one.
Both decks, though, I imagine, are pretty good at, doing the long game.
Yes.
Unlike the aggro decks that we've seen, it's just okay, turn 4, I haven't killed you. Let's go to the next one.
Yes, absolutely.
And all the stops, just making it look like I've got something.
Exactly. They're trying to bluff it out, even if they don't have something to do. Even though both of them do. But yeah, now it's the point, when do they start pulling the trigger? Turn 5 is usually the turn when you can play one of your 3-drops, play a 2-drop. We might see something played now that Karl did draw a 2-drop. Anything to leave 2 mana open and be able to still play Make Disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see Julian shake his head. Didn't want to see that, because, cannot counter it.
Nope.
Could just Fading Hope it back to get a little scry if he so chooses, but doesn't look like he wants to.
Shake of the head there, yeah. I think it's not what he wanted to see at this point, but is it that much to worry about right now?
I must say, it's so great to be able to see players' reactions again and just kind of be able to get a tell from their face on what they wanted to see, what they didn't want to see in the game.
Oh, it certainly wasn't that.
Yeah,
another shake of the head there from Julian. More lands. Does have stuff to do, but isn't going to pull the trigger yet. Finds Soken-san, so can also channel that on the end step, get a couple 1/1 knuckleheads on the battlefield, as Cedric likes to call them.
Yep, and a huge draw here from Karl, where this would be excellent if he had 2 white sources. Having that double island draw from Karl is pretty brutal here. And we're going to see taking 3 here, and now Julian does have the option to end step either Fading Hope or channel Soken-san if you want. Another way to kind of deal with this. But it looks like Julian just really wants to prioritize scrying into some action like that. Quadrigen
he
being
didn't like
awesome.
it, though. Huh, what is he looking for?
Yeah, that is a good point.
He's having a big think about this one. It's board presence.
Maybe
it's a flyer.
maybe just impulses, considers, something like that to get his graveyard filled up is what he's looking for. But yeah, it would seem like that's what I would want, you know, is a threat here, like a Haughty Djinn.
It's a something.
Yeah.
So Haughty Djinn's going to be the play here, leaves up the Make Disappear, and we'll have the option to use both spells once this resolves, if it resolves.
And now here's another scenario. If this one gets Make Disappeared, I think you snap pay for it, where the other one was a close consideration, especially when Karl's missing a land drop. But now you see if the one thing that is kind of brutal here is it's in cut down range.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little unfortunate. Would have to then use the Shore Up or the Make Disappear to protect it.
Yeah, and you see he got a little upset. I'm wondering if Julian actually thought that the cut downs were going to be taken out, because that's kind of what I was thinking. It's a card that's not extremely useful against this Izzet deck if you don't play Haughty Djinn really early.
Oh, man, and a Destroy Evil follow-up there. It's going to Make Disappear to protect it. But you can see he's still not happy about this exchange, because now it shields down.
Yeah.
Karl has free reign to do whatever the heck he wants now on his turn.
But, I mean, good news for Julian is there's not a lot of good plays. Like, do you just sorcery speed Void Rend here? Like, that doesn't seem great right now. Julian is not going to get punished really at all for this decision. And, yeah, just another great sequence for Julian, and a Make Disappear off the top to be able to Fable with counter backup on a player that is already land light. That was huge.
Oh, man. Lands. You love him, you hate him, but in this situation, Julian Wellman's going to be happy that he has the man advantage here.
Yeah.
Like you said, just to be able to fire off that Fable. But first things first, let's get a chunk of damage down. Down to 16 goes Karl. Fable the Mirror Breaker on the stack.
Yep, and, you know, Julian wanted a little information there, like, can I attack? Do you have Destroy Evil right now? Is it worth it? But here is one thing that was maybe a little brutal with outplaying the land, is Make Disappear for sure is going to get this. But I think this is just Julian saying, you know what, no matter what, I wasn't going to pay 2 and Make Disappear or Make Disappear.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, Fable is extremely good here at getting rid of some of these extra lands.
Definitely would love to get to Chapter 2 of that just to be able to find some more action. Currently just has the Sokenzan and the Make Disappear.
And the Void Rend is looking pretty good right now if you are Karl, but doesn't know that Julian doesn't have another Shore Up, which would be a nightmare.
Oh, yeah. That would be bad news bears indeed, but I kind of like this approach from Karl too. It's like, all right, well, if you have counter spells, use them, because I'm going to just establish my board presence, and maybe this becomes a racing situation now between the creatures. And
normally, you know, Tenacious Underdog is not really the card you want to snap counter, but when there's already one in the graveyard, it's a pretty free counter. You know, the amount of times when you have 8 mana and you bring back 2 of them, not that often, well, especially in a race like this.
Yeah, especially when you're stuck on 4 mana for, I don't know how many turns it's been now, but yeah. Ooh, and then the other side of things, flooding a little bit here. Haughty Djinn, though, it cares not, and takes Karl Sarap down to 11, and there is a Rafine. Hello, friend. Would you like to look through the top of your library a little bit more?
Yeah, big draw there, and Julian was really ahead here, but without some big draws off the top, getting flooded here, Karl's going to be able to really catch up pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah. 4 points of damage coming in, down to 13 goes Julian. Rafine hanging out and finds a land, finally.
Yep, there's that second white source. And now just Sokenzan to make a couple 1/1s. Hope to draw some way to deal with Rafine right now. An Invoke the Winds would be great. Fading Hope's pretty good here, too.
Yeah, that's not bad.
This is 7 damage. This is putting Karl to 3 if Julian so chooses.
And a Scry.
Yeah.
I think he's going to go for it. You know, we got to keep this 2-0 trend going, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Julian at this point wants to perfect the tournament. He's not happy with 2-1s anymore.
That's just going like super undefeated.
Yes, absolutely.
Alrighty, Rafine. Back to hand you go. Let's get a scry in. Otawara doesn't. Well,
I was like, that's worth a thought at least.
Yeah.
So here's the problem. It's pretty good if the follow-up is just play Rafine, which is all Karl has been doing, is just kind of playing another creature, playing another creature. But the one thing that Karl hasn't had access to is the second white source. So it's pretty clear, at least to us, that, you know, Wandering Emperor is probably going to be the play to deal with Jhin here, and then the Otawara on top looks pretty bad.
Yeah, it sure does. I mean, if that Otawara was in hand, you'd be pretty happy about that because it could be a protection spell for the Jhin.
But now with land 6, you do have the option to go Rafine plus Void Rend the Jhin, and that's looking pretty good as well for Karl. So advantage bar definitely swaying back into Karl's favor.
Yeah, it's always funny to see what happens with land, right? Because if you flat out, that's always feels bad. But if you get land screwed, that also feels bad. But you unlock your hand eventually, right? And that seems to be what's happening with Karl now. Whereas on the other side of things, Julian's run out of gas. Wandering Emperor is going to take care of the big old Jhin, gain some life. And now, like you mentioned, Karl Sarap is looking in a pretty good position.
Yep, exactly. And you saw the shake of the head of Julian being like, yeah, I should have really expected maybe that, you know, the Wandering Emperor was a solid possibility. But at least getting to bounce this here, attack down the Wandering Emperor, and choose to either put Karl to 2, probably unlikely, or be able to deal with the Wandering Emperor, plus put him to 3 seems a little bit better.
You gotta kill the Planeswalker, Corey.
You gotta.
Yeah, you gotta get those off the board. It's like playing a sub-game, right? You know?
Yeah.
Just gotta kill that first. It's like, okay, cool, one problem dealt with, and now I can kill you.
That is one of the easier ways to win a game of Magic, is to first make sure the Planeswalkers are gone. Always makes it trickier.
Oh, Rona's Vortex, an excellent draw here as well for Karl. Just has so much gas right now, and Julian just sitting with a mountain in hand, so Tenacious Underdog. But those lands keep dinging him.
Yep. Now, I mean, I think we only have one Soakins in here, but a Soakins in would have been the best draw.
He considers not too shabby.
Only
Let's see what's on top. Ew, negates.
So the one thing, if it's still in the deck, the Elder Dragon War is just lethal right now, if we were to be able to find that.
Okay, let's see. Draw a card.
Oh,
Rending Flame.
Yeah, check the creature type. Thank you, Julian. Had to double check.
All right, not the red spell he wanted to see.
Yep. It does deal extra damage if it is a spirit.
Can't we just give him one of our spirits? Just like, here, just hold this for me. Okay, cool, you're dead.
And slam. Yep,
yeah, no,
absolutely.
That will be an illegal game action. Let's not do that.
And I mean, the one thing for Karl here is there's still a lot of pain lands. So that is really going to limit, you know, what Karl can really cast being at 2.
Okay, Shadowed Sanctum.
Sanctum helps a lot, but also Tenacious Underdog. You see that as an option. It's not an option anymore.
Don't do that. Don't do that, please. You will die. Tenacious Underdog on the battlefield, though, is feeling a little frisky.
Yeah, and right now, Julian is really just hoping Karl overextends a little bit too much and is able to punish him with a removal spell, maybe top deck another removal spell, and finish this game off. Destroy Evil, not necessarily great, unless we draw another Jhin.
What goes in the bin? What are you throwing away here?
It's tempting to just get rid of the land, but then you only have one white source that you're not getting pinged with.
Yeah.
I think I would still get rid of the land, though. But I think it's very close, so anything's pretty defensible.
Big thing here for Karl. It's going to be the Destroy Evil 2/5 now. And a Shadowed Sanctum follow-up as the land for turn. Those Tenacious Underdogs, we're not going to see them again, or Karl Sarap will be dead.
Wandering Emperor to gain some life and then maybe unlock that, but it would have a Leerdo off the top.
Oh, hey, buddy.
I mean, I know there's a shore up.
There's some goodies in that bin.
I know there's a shore up. And Leer looks like it's going to... That might have just been game over the course of 2 turns, I would imagine. Probably not immediately.
Yeah, he's got the shore up. Can't counter any spells. So, yeah, just protection. Because the Void Rain could kill it.
I don't think it's lethal right now, but one option that Julian has right now is play Leer, Fading Hope, Tenacious Underdog, attack with both, and have shore up as a defense.
Oh. Yeah.
Actually. But the one thing that Karl can do is, in response to Leer, at least deal with one of the creatures, maybe deal with both. You know, but you might have to instead of dealing with Leer. Either way, Leer is going to put Karl in an extremely rough spot at some point here.
All right, well, we're going to kick things off here with Rending Flame to deal with the Tenacious Underdog. Void Rend and Rona's Vortex ain't going to help that little guy out. but will be able to take care of the attackers.
He's really just shaking his head. He's like, not a Wandering Emperor? That's all he wanted to be, was not a Wandering Emperor. That was the major thing. But, I mean, this was a big decision point from Julian, to play Lear now and hope that there's no counterspell, or to deal with that first. Because I think what Julian was trying to play around here was a Make Disappear, where he would sacrifice Tenacious Underdog.
Okay. So Rona's Vortex is going to bounce one of the attackers. Karl Sarap going down to 1. Please don't tap your pain lands. Looking at you, auto tapper.
Yes, absolutely. That would be a brutal
Takanuma.
auto tap. Absolutely.
Okay, what does Takanuma get back for us? There's a couple goodies in the bin there.
There was a couple goodies. One I'm definitely thinking of is the Wandering Emperor. Yeah, could definitely get the Wandering Emperor back. Maybe something to cast this turn.
Some life.
Yep. So there's Wandering Emperor, but
Yep.
and it can be cast right now.
Yep, you gotta go for it. And get rid of the attacker, gain some life.
Yep, exile, go up to 3, and now Lear comes down. You go Lear, say go, and just be like, all right, you have to deal with it. But there is at least 1 shore up in the yard. There might be 2. And if you can untap with Lear in this Izzet deck, it truly seems like GG.
Oh, yeah.
That has been Lear in a lot of formats in the past that we have seen.
Oh, man, that Disdainful Stroke. If only there were the mana to keep that up. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So looks like Disdainful Stroke's going to go into the bin. Keep that Void Rend around. Cross your fingers, hope to die. Well, hope not to die in this case. Julian is ecstatic about this. He's like, oh, yeah.
That's huge, because that Disdainful Stroke was basically going to end Julian's game. Rafine was going to win. You know, Rafine can win on its own, but with Lear on the battlefield, you know, I'm making it, it's looking a little hard to imagine a way that Karl gets out of this when you have...
Oh, I only have 1 card in hand? No, I have my entire graveyard.
There is only 1 shore up. So if Karl is able to find another removal spell that is castable, then, you know, advantage back to Karl. But as it stands now, the pressure's really going to be on Karl to do something. And the one thing I will bring attention to, those Make Disappears, negates, the spells can't be countered aspect is universal. So that you cannot counter your opponent's stuff with that.
Yeah, it's just like a big old switch has been flipped. It's like, boop, counterspells are off currently.
Exactly.
They're experiencing some downtime.
Your kind of favorite way to play some Magic, right? No counterspells.
Yes, exactly.
Like, yeah, let's do some attacking.
Yeah, just turn dude sideways and smack face.
There we go.
Pretty decent draw there in the wedding announcement, able to get some cards or creatures on the battlefield here. But likely going to see this sent away. Ooh, Destroy Evil.
That was huge.
Yeah.
That was it?
Yeah, that's it. Like you mentioned, we need 2 castable removal spells to deal with this Lear.
Yeah, to deal with it for now, because we do have Shore Up for the first one, and then the second removal spell will be cast on it, and then you can at least Fading Hope to bounce it, to bounce your own Lear, but that's a huge tempo swing. And then all of a sudden, Rafine is looking to be lethal. Yeah. There is a second Fading Hope, so next turn we could go Lear, Fading Hope, Rafine right away, and pay for it.
Okay, you're just getting an extra creature down on the battlefield here now, though. Karl Sarap trying to shore up his defenses. It's just like, okay, how do I win this game?
And now Julian is really thinking, can I afford to use any of my 2 mana? You know, you got to have on your mind, what combination of 2 cards could it be? Because Julian knows he has 1 card under wrap.
Yeah.
But it's got to be 2 cards that beat him. Okay, I like the untap.
Yeah. Just come back to my turn. Let me have all my lands available to me. On the upkeep, what is Karl going for here? It looks like the Destroy Evil on Lear, Disciple of the Drowned.
And this is really smart to wait until upkeep, because unless Julian has another shore up in hand, you know, that's really the only Punisher case, but he was going to lose to that anyways.
Yeah, for sure. Shore Up going to do its best here to protect Lear, but Destroy Evil and Void Rend will force Julian Wellman's hand here. He would be able to recast it, but I don't think you'd have the mana available to protect it after the fact.
Yeah, to protect it. So now, oh yeah, great thing here. You can consider into another Shore Up. And that would be GG.
Let's see, do we find it?
No.
That's a big old Djinn. That's not too bad.
That's
castable.
But now it comes to the point where this Fading Hope might have to go at Rafine to not die instead of protecting Lear.
Yeah, for sure.
Doesn't have to pay. That's pretty cute. Can't be countered. Oh, it was so close.
Curses be upon you, Sarap.
You know, and maybe Julian is looking, did I screw up by not Fading Hope first and scrying away the Fabled Mirrorbreaker and then considering? I mean, it's a tough thing to, you know, fault yourself for.
But as things stand, both players are alive.
Yep.
They're at very low life totals. But this is certainly a nail-biter of a game here.
So now I'm wondering, is Julian going to just jam out this Huadijin and just hope that it is able to win the game?
Sure, why not?
Or try to go Fable the Mirrorbreaker and then wait till next turn when you have Jin plus Shore Up.
Yeah,
I like it.
I think that's
safe
better,
play.
Yeah, let's get that out. So counter spells have been flipped back on.
And
Cave of Koilos. Oh man, these lands just want to kill Karl. Poor guy.
So the one thing that Karl does have active now is blitzing Tenacious. It's an option to not die immediately, but yeah, not really that strong of a thing. And now if Julian can find a way to Fading Hope, something like that, Strangle doesn't quite do it.
That's not going to cut it. Discard, likely to see the Strangle go away.
Probably. Now the one thing is you can make a case for getting rid of none of these.
Yeah.
You know, you just attack, you Strangle Rafine, get rid of that, play Huadijin, wish Shore Up and say good luck. Hope you have a farewell or something like that. And that looks to be the line.
Yeah.
And Karl can't really not block. You die to a Shore Up. So, yeah, I like this.
Sweet. So Strangle does kill Mr. Scheming Seer over there. Has to pay the ward this time round.
I think the flawless victory of Standard so far for Julian, I think, is going to be alive going into the next round.
See Karl with a head nod there. He's like, yep, that's probably going to do it. Wedding announcement's not going to cut it. Tenacious Underdog cannot get through this haughty Jin, especially with the Shore Up available here for Julian. Let's watch his face. Let's see. I want to watch his reaction. Maybe we'll see a GG here from Karl.
This deck is so awesome.
That's going to do it. Julian Wellman 2-0ing everybody. He's just like, all right, let me show you guys how it's done. It's a tempo, baby. That's excellent.
Good. It's looking
very good.
Really good. Another Esper deck, you know, played against Grixis last round. And, you know, that was a lot closer. It's still a 2-0, so I don't know how, you know, truly close it is. But these Esper decks, it just seems so tough for them to resolve anything of meaning when for 1 mana, you know, Julian is dealing with all these permanents that